Hello and welcome to another episode of Footy Corner TV. This is Premier View show, and we've been off for a little bit because I've been on holiday. So we've got quite a bit to talk about to be fair. But so we've got Awesome Domination. He's got his own channel as well. So if you're in here and you're watching this channel, please make sure to go over and subscribe to this channel as well. How are we, Dom?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, good. I mean, I'm looking pale compared to you. I look like some kind of vampire. You can tell you've been on your holidays.
Yeah, I can't get the lighting right. So I've wrong shirt choice as well, and and the Omri shirt in the background is kind of not doing me any favors. But he's what he is, I guess.
Oh dear me. The main thing is you had a nice holiday, which is the main thing.
It was really nice, really hot. It was apparently cloudy the week before we were there, and when we left, the wind was setting in. So it was a bit of a bonus, really. So you can't really complain.
Like Martinelli, you timed it. You timed it right.
Yeah, I mean he's had a bit of a surge, isn't he? A bit of a resurgence and a bit of an answer to some of his critics, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've always said it, he's a form player. He's either in form or he's not, and there's kind of no in between. There's sort of no sort of running neutral, is there? Where he gives that 6.5, 7 out of 10 every week. He's either an 8 or he's a 5 kind of player.
Yeah, a confidence player as well, isn't he? So
Exactly.
He kind of thrives on a bit of confidence. He just needs that bit of an uplift. We've had plenty of players like that. Theo Walcott was one of them.
Yeah.
He's been out there criticising Martinelli himself, and they bear very significant similarities, I think.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it's not uncommon for wingers. I think wingers, almost more than any other position, sort of seem to go through these sort of patches. I mean, people say strikers do, but I think it's the wingers that seem to go through it more than anyone else. And I have found the narrative around this sort of thing, irritating. I think it's been a little bit hyperbolic, to be honest, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
some of it's green, some of it's fair, but
yeah, I do think some of it is fair. I think some of it is just completely undeserved, really. But then I've seen a lot of narratives that have come out over the last week or so, that just don't really have any substance, to be honest. I was watching a stream earlier on, and a City fans talking to Arsenal fans about mentality. Now, I'm perfectly fine with that, but where's your mentality then in the game at Emirates? Where's your mentality then? And I know you've got nothing to prove because you've done it already, but why does that suddenly give you the right to just go, well, we're allowed to do it, but you're not?
Yeah, I think that's a bit that frustrates me, right? Is that, as you say, City have been there, done it, won everything that you can sort of think of. Same with Pep Guardiola, and Arsenal need to prove that. There's no question. But it's also like there are games where you just need to sit in, dig deep. Gary Neville was talking about it after the show about how they used to do it at United and then criticise it. And like, it can't be both. And I think that's a bit that frustrates me. I think the team selection was wrong in that first half.
Yeah,
No
agreed.
question. It was too defensive. There was a time and a place for that 3-man midfield, as in that 3-man midfield. Where Anfield, I understood it. You're 1-0 up, 10, 15 minutes to go, and you just want a little bit of physicality or control into that midfield. Again, can get it. There's circumstances, but that wasn't the right time. And I actually thought the Trossard one was more puzzling than Moreno. But there are times.
I was on a stream yesterday, and I literally said the same thing. And I said I can kind of understand the Moreno one because he scored 4 goals for his country, but I just don't understand the Trossard starting.
No. I mean, for me, I think when you play that 3-man midfield, I wouldn't have played it. I had no problem at Anfield, as I say, but I wouldn't have played it because I thought City are most vulnerable defensively. And Moreno's not going to stop a breakaway goal. You know, in the 10 position, you need a little bit of creativity in there. But if you are playing that 3-man midfield, you need pace on the wings, and that's why it wasn't Trossard. It had to be Eza or Martinelli for me out on that left-hand side. That's not to criticise Trossard, but pace and going at the City fullbacks isn't his game. You know, and he that part, I think the criticism is absolutely
Yeah.
And to Arteta's credit, he realised it at half time and made the change. I know there were two, but one was injury enforced. The other was still a choice that he made. It's some of the other stuff. City realised that they couldn't get control of the game in the second half. They were really struggling, and Pep went defensive to try and hang on. And I think that's perfectly legitimate. And they damn nearly did it. I'm not criticising Pep Guardiola for it at all. But the narrative is what irritates me. And we spoke about this after the Anfield game, I think, me and you, where we were talking about how Arsenal hang on to that game or nick the win at the other end, which could have happened. The narrative is completely different. They are narratives, but that's what irritates me. I like to look at things as a trend over a period of time rather than a one-off. But I think we just have to get used to that sort of reactionary world that is today. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I just it's just the double standards. And the reasoning is because you haven't won trophies. It's just nonsense. And these people are the same people that go around saying no excuses, no excuses, no excuses. Well, you just made an excuse for a manager doing the same thing that you criticize another manager for. And that's perfectly fine, but it's not fine for him to do it. So he's not going to change the system. He's not going to change anything else. Well, how's he going to even attempt to win a league then? Because he's not allowed to change any kind of system. He's not allowed to be defensive and kind of, protect a lead, even with 10 men. This guy, because he's won trophies, he can do it with 10 men, with 11 men, but we're not allowed to do it with 11. It just doesn't bear any kind of resemblance to anything. And to be honest with you, I just find it a bit boring.
Yeah, I think so. And I think this narrative, you can't win the league by playing defensive football, is just not true. Jose Mourinho did it. Gary Neville again was talking about the games that they had to do that for Manchester United. Yes, we'd all rather win the league attacking football. Of course we would. That's much more fun to watch. But Arsenal, at times we can be dull, we can be slow. And that was a big criticism last season, and a correct one that, I've said before, I'm sure you have as well, and the imbalance between right and left, in terms of where we attack. I think this season, if you look, we're actually sort of going down both wings much more, which makes it harder to defend. We have scored 8 goals, in 2 games at home against lesser opposition we struggled with last year. And actually, I think if you look, there are times when it's slow to try and grind down, where, it's more pragmatic, but there are also times where we're moving that ball and what they're trying to do is probe and move the press. And then they try and ping that ball quickly through the lines. Whereas last year, that quick ball through the line didn't come. You're starting to see that now. I don't think it's working as effectively as it needs to at the moment, but you can see he's trying to address the issues from last year. And I don't think that changes overnight. And we have had some sort of tricky games to do it, particularly away from home. So I think if we're still in a position where we're not getting this right quite, in say 5, 6, 7 games time, then you can start to go, well, when is it going to get right? But it has only been a few games, and I think me and you spoke about the need for, our expectation was around 13 points in the first 6. We're going to have to win at Newcastle to get that, but that's still on, and we're still very much in the title race. But I obviously it's going to have to go right. He is going to have to win things. I hate the phrase "no excuses" because actually, I don't necessarily see. There are excuses and there is reasoning and understanding, and I think those two terms are too easily interchanged. But right now, he does have everything he needs to win the league, and our expectations are that he should win the league.
He won't do it
or a big trophy.
Many more injuries, and I know we're not allowed to say that word because that's a swear word as well. and that's another excuse. But you know, we haven't got the first 11 out, and we're trying to bed in new players into that thing. Now, on top of that, I don't think the midfield three is right.
No, it's not right.
So we have no balance in the midfield basically at the moment. I think it needs a creative player in that three. Whether it be to replace Rice or whether it be to replace Marino, it doesn't matter which one. It's if you're playing with the two, it just doesn't work.
No, I agree. I think, like I say, if you are going to say the Bernabeu, and you want to go through and you want to go really physical in there, and you're looking to hold in and you're looking to hit something on the break or from a set piece to win the game that way, because you don't want to get a thump in at the Bernabeu because it's a two-legged game. I can understand that, but like I said, and as I said at the top of the show, 10 minutes to go, you're winning the game 2-1, you want to sit in. There are times, but I agree with you, it needs a creative in there. And I think there is an argument about, is it Rice or Moreno at the moment on form? Rice is obviously the better player. I don't think there's any debate about that. But it does need that creative in there, whether that's Wanyeri, whether that's Eza. I think it does need that player in there for sure. And I think that is legitimate. And I think, as we said, Arteta, I think, showed he got it wrong by making a sub. He's never going to say it publicly, but he knew he got it wrong. But if he says it publicly, he's throwing his players under the bus. But it's not Moreno's fault that midfield three was picked. That is fair and legitimate. But I think let's just see how this thing sort of settles over a little bit of time. Liverpool, are also having some teething problems. I think that's worrying because they've won 5 out of 5.
Yeah,
but they're still struggling. Yeah, exactly. But and I think, when you look at injuries, I think last year it was a legitimate reason behind the league. It wasn't the whole reason, but it was a massive factor in it. I think the issue this year is slightly different. If we go through where we have a load of muscle injuries and it comes from overplaying players constantly, and in some ways that was a snowball effect last year. You got 2 or 3 injured, or you're having to then play someone more than you want to because everyone else is out, and that then causes them to get an injury, etc., etc. But if you look at the injuries this year, a lot of them have been either because they've just come back from serious injuries, and that it's quite often you get a little niggle or a little injury somewhere else
when you're trying to get back.
Yeah. Normally, ironically, after a serious injury, to your leg, on the other leg, because you're overcompensating. History is littered with that, and I think. But there's also the fact that Odegaard, Havertz, and Madueke, all of their injuries have come from a physical contact. I'm not saying it was a foul or anything unpleasant or anything,
Yeah, just a knock, just a bang.
Yeah. And you've just fallen awkwardly. Saliba's unfortunately, he rolls his ankle. Those things are when they are unfortunate. I think if you have a second season of muscle injuries, then you have to look at the manager, and it's not an excuse. But, when you do get the knocks like that, it is unfortunate. But I think the fact that Arsenal are still very much in it right now after a difficult start with those, I think kind of is a positive rather than a negative right now.
Yeah, for sure. And
and City will say the same, right?
They've also I don't understand the underdog gimmick from Man City, to be honest. I hear a lot of people basically saying, "Oh, well, they're not in the race. They're not this, that, and the other." But I saw a combined 11 with City and Arsenal, and they're 7-4.
Okay.
And you're like, well, all right. So if you've got, and they're putting the keeper in there, by the way, but that's played 3 games and 2 games, I think, and going up against the 2-time Golden Glove winner, although once was shared, he instantly gets in over Ryan. So how can they not be expected? I understand that Pep's not under pressure to win stuff straight away because obviously he has done that. But they spent 400 million quid over the last two windows, and I see City fans on X, Twitter, whatever, where you spent 230 million quid, and we're on net spend this and net spend that and net spend the other. Net spend isn't a thing. Who gives a crap? You spent 400 million quid.
Yeah, if you take the January and the summer window together, there can't be much of a difference, right? It doesn't matter when you spent it. I actually don't think City are in the title race. I've said it pre-season. I thought it was a two horse race for the title.
Why do they get away with it? That's what I'm saying. Why do they get away with it after spending 400 million quid? Why do they get away with it? That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree, and I think it is because they've won it before. But I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
they are in a title race, but I don't think that makes them underdogs. They're still a very, very good side. I understand why. If I'm Pep Guardiola, I'm sitting there at that podium and I'm saying, "Yeah, we're underdogs," because it's mind games, right? You're trying. I
Yeah,
don't think.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know what
that's
effect
all
it
it can
has.
be, but they're
You know.
getting away with it, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't really get the logic. It
And
doesn't make sense.
no, and that's what sort of my gripe is the double standard and the false narratives coming out. Well, Arsenal
Yeah.
went to celebrate the Martinelli goal, and this was on the Football Terrace pointed this out, and I think it's spot on. Martinelli celebrating that, shows a poor mentality. No one's getting the ball out of the net. Well, as it happened,
Yeah.
Zubimendi was getting the ball out of the
Or
net.
trying to.
Yeah, or trying to. Whereas last year, Salah got a late goal and no Liverpool player went to go and get the ball out of net. And ultimately the celebration gets added on at the end of the game anyway. And actually, why shouldn't the players? And I'm not criticising Liverpool for this, by the way, last season, but it's again that
Well,
double.
Holland did it last season and threw the ball at Gabriel's head, but that's perfectly fine.
Oh, there's no problem with that at all.
No problem at all. That at all. I'm going to pick the ball out of the net, throw it at a player. We're not trying to restart, do whatever.
Yeah, and and this, at the moment it's Arsenal that are that, but at some point during the season it will switch to someone else, and then it will.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that equally isn't.
Hopefully.
Yeah, but I think that's equally just not right or fair.
I don't think it's not right or fair at all, but I'm just sick of it. It's just
Yeah,
boring. I'm
it,
just
it,
bored.
it, it is. You're
From
exactly right.
mainstream media, I can understand it from YouTube channels,
Yep.
from fans and just generally just crap, but these people are just regurgitating what is out in the media, and that's what's frustrating to me. To be honest.
I mean, as a fan, if Tottenham bought, I don't know, let's say Declan Rice when we wanted him and Tottenham get him, just in we go, oh, Rice is crap, isn't he? He's absolutely rubbish.
Yeah.
We obviously don't mean that, but that's what you're sort of saying because you want to sort of believe it, will it to be true? That's what you expect from a fan, but not from the pundit stuff. The Premier League sells itself. It doesn't need narratives, and that is what irritates me. It really does. But there you go. Rant on that over, probably.
Yeah, rant on that one over. Quick hello to Khalid in the building. How are we, sir? Welcome in. And we got Farham Mohammed. Come on, you Gunners. Indeed. Welcome in. If you are in here, please, mate, and me or watching, please make sure you're hitting the like. Drop some comments in the chat. If you're watching on replay, drop a comment in the comment section. It really helps the video. It helps it out. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe and the alert bell as well. That will be appreciated as well. Yeah. So obviously we've had some news after the City game that that Madueke's out for 8 weeks.
He's doing well to recover from an ACL in 8 weeks, isn't he, after all that?
Well, I mean, it was Con. Was it Con that was putting it out?
Yeah.
Con Marble Halls or whatever. And you're like, you don't know. You're just guessing, man. So how about just leave it? But yeah, it was kind of debunked. The ACL was debunked
very quickly as well.
God. Now, obviously, Saka came on and replaced Madueke, I guess, and basically took his position. And what did you think of his performance?
There were moments he looked rusty. You'd expect him to, right? I mean, was it game 2 he got injured or very early?
It was a Leeds game, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, it was a Leeds game. You're right. Yeah, so very early in the season to get the knock. It's obviously you've only had you've had pre-season, then you come back, you get injured. So I expect him to be rusty. City, obviously their fullback's not the best, but he looked okay. I think there is an argument for him getting minutes tomorrow night against Port Vale. I don't know what you think on that, just to get some more minutes in the legs ahead of Newcastle. Obviously not the whole 90, but
I think he has to start. He has to play. Like you say, at least the first half, and then you hope the job's done, and you can get Damon on, one area on, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done my Port Vale preview yet, but I have written down my 11. because it's such a difficult one to do, right? So I actually wrote this one down, and I had Saka starting for that exact reason. 50, 60 minutes, you should be winning the game. You don't need Saka, but it's about what Saka needs rather than what the team needs on that one. You know, and you just take him off, even if it's 0-0, you probably take him off at that point because Newcastle's more important. And ultimately, if Arsenal can't make multiple change for that game and win the game without Saka, then they don't deserve to go through. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just on him, is it? At the end of the
No,
day, but yeah, I quite like to see Damon have a run out anyway. To be honest,
he's not been included in the youth side today, so that suggests
yeah,
he's
okay. Well, which is he was in the under-21s, wasn't he?
at the
Last
weekend. He
week.
was, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact he's been pulled out of that kind of says that he's going to play some part at least.
Yeah.
Obviously, centre of Port Vale will probably play there, and Ezra on the left. You got Ezra on the left.
What have I got? I mean, my defence will depend on who was fit, but I had Saka, Trossard, and Martinelli as my three. To give Gyökeres a bit of a rest as well.
Wouldn't you play Gyökeres at least for the 45 just to kind of try and a stat pad?
There is an argument for Gyökeres doing the same as Saka, and I did I tried to work out what Arteta would do, and I did make that change there. You know, I think Eza you want for Newcastle. You know, he's played some minutes, he's match fit, so no problem there. So I went with Martinelli and Trossard. I actually went Martinelli through the middle and Trossard left, but I think you can kind of interchange them, and that's why I went for that side. But I think Gyökeres, just to get him a goal or two, particularly you know, away from home as well, will just do him a bit of good. You know, people are sort of saying he's had no shots against Manchester United, City, and Liverpool. Well, you know, again, he's adjusting. Arsenal are adjusting. You know, let's give him time. And actually, he was brought in to be the flat track bully goal scorer rather than, you know, necessarily.
Yeah, this is the other narrative that's kind of been lost, isn't it? Oh, you know, you brought him in to beat the lesser sides, and now he has to do it against the big teams because he's done it against a lesser side, and it's just like, well, you need to pick it, mate, because it's a bit boring moving the goalposts every time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Arteta will actually pick Havertz for the big games because I think just the way those games sort of go sort of suits Havertz arguably more than Gyökeres stylistically from the way Arsenal set up. But you know, Gyökeres,
I think he plays them both.
He maybe.
I think he plays Havertz in behind Gyökeres.
Do you in the sort of 4-4-2? Interesting. I mean, I think we'll see that at times this season, but I think, you know, Gyökeres primarily for me was brought in to help us break down those sides that sit in. That's what he was brought in for. And yeah, you know, if he scores in the big games, you know, that's a bonus, and you would expect a striker of his quality and at his price to do so. But he, you know, it's you know, it to sort of say after 6 games, well, he's only got 3 goals. 5 games even. You know, it's like, well, you know, come on, he's still got 3 and 5, having just adjusted to the side, and the side's now playing very differently to sort of try and, you know, get the best out of him. You know, it's like, you know, let's give it time. We see this every year. You know, people might not Havertz and Marino, but everyone's sort of saying they're a bust at sort of October, November time, and then they both have storming second half of the season because, you know, they've adjusted to the team and vice versa. You know, Wirtz is struggling at Liverpool. Do we really think he's a bust? I don't think anyone thinks he's a bust, right? He might.
No, it's fun to say. That one's actually fun to say, isn't it? Because obviously the expense.
I mean,
but everybody knows he's going to come good at the end. You know, it's obviously it's just, you know, the worrying thing for me with Liverpool is that Salah's not firing, so they've essentially replaced Salah already, or Salah's figures already, and yeah, they've not even really turned up yet.
No, and that is the worrying thing. And it's like when you look at their sort of underlying numbers, it's not sustainable the way they're playing. But I think everyone expects them to get better. And you know, as a fan, you're absolutely right on Florian Wirtz. It's great fun to say, but we all know that, you know, if you're looking at it objectively, that's not going to continue.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the Gyökeres thing. You know, it goes back to the narrative thing. But you know, I think it'll be really interesting to see what he picks for that Port Vale game. You know, and I think it will depend on what the medical staff sort of say about where the team's at and how they're getting on. You know, if they don't need a rest, and medical staff don't think they do, although there are questions about the medical staff given we made the change summer 2024 and the injury record's been poor since. But but I think Arteta as a manager has to sort of trust the medical staff to some extent, and I think that will somewhat dictate the team sheet tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting the blame for creating these injuries because he's making players run, and it's just like, I
All the
mean,
top
come
teams
on,
run.
let's be real about this. All players have to run. It's kind of a predetermined asset. If you're in a wheelchair and you can roll up and down the pitch, you're not getting a job as a footballer, are you?
Well, I had a go at the under 11s I coached on Saturday. I was relatively cross because they weren't running. The minimum expectation of your midfield is that it runs. The top teams run and they work hard, and that is what sort of makes them go, jump that extra level. You can talk about has he overplayed them, and I think there is an element potential of that with Saka, but equally the side wasn't that good. So if you didn't play Saka or Saliba or your best players, it probably doesn't get into title contention. Then you can't buy all the other players, So it is a sort of a fine balancing act. We're at the position now where we're fortunate that I know, we've got injuries right now, but let's say everyone's fit. Oh, we're playing Forest this weekend. Let's rest Saka and play Madueke. Brilliant. But all players have to run.
Yeah, I mean, Khalid here says it has to be rigorous training methods, but all Premier League footballers have rigorous training methods. And granted, it may well be different because they've gone to a new club and it's a different methodology and whatever. But does that point the finger at us because we're doing rigorous training methods, or pointing a finger at the other club that weren't doing rigorous training methods that haven't got them, framed and ready to go in the Premier League?
It's always a difficult balancing act, isn't it? Where you had to sort of work with the medical staff and yourselves to sort of do it. But I think there's probably something in the training methods last season because Arteta himself said that it was something he needed to look at with the medical staff. But I think if you look at the injuries this year, I really don't think it is down to that. We were talking about, the knocks, their physical knocks or, players coming back from the injuries. But I also think that actually sometimes that is just an unfortunate consequence of it. And you look at it and go, he's had it one season where there's been that level of injuries. Klopp had it one season, but he didn't make significant changes from one season to the next, and sometimes they just all come. And I think once you get 2 or 3, unless you change your entire training methods and your entire approach, you're going to get 2 or 3 more because there's less players to keep up that work rate that's required to do it. So, I think Arsenal did have a look at what they did last season training wise, taking Arteta at his word here and saying, it might be a factor and I need to have a look at it. But I don't think it's a training, and I don't this season. I really don't, because most of the injuries have come from impact injuries, or as we said,
it's not. It's not as if they're hamstrings or ACLs or whatever this year. I mean, obviously last year that was a thing, and there's been a lot of operations. But was that just unlucky because it only happened that season? I don't know really, but
a lot of teams also had a lot more injuries last year because of the European Championship year. Actually, I think statistically, when you look at it out, and I can't remember the off the top of my head, there was Liverpool, Forest, and about 2 others that were under the average injury rate for the Premier League in the last 10 years. Last season, everyone else was way above it, and I think that's partly why you sort of a bit of a skewy league to what you'd expect, to some extent.
Yeah.
But this year we've had the hamstring injury to Saka, and that's it. But again, it was the opposite one. Again, just before it happened, he got a little clip which made him sort of move awkwardly, which might well have affected. But we were also talking about the fact that quite often with these muscle injuries, if you had a big injury, and I think we saw that, Havertz was a contact, but the other leg can get the injury once you've had that, and my friend Tim, it's a different sport, it's the NFL. But, he sort of worked for some professional teams and what have you. And he was, a very good college player. And he was saying the amount of injuries you saw because players just didn't quite trust that injured leg and then injured the other one. And he said you
Yeah, they're
saw it
tightening up a little
years.
bit, didn't they?
Yeah, he said you saw it every year you'd see it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, and obviously the NFL
Mm.
you get many more injuries because of the way the sport is. But he said half of the injuries were mental because they didn't trust that leg. And he said he saw it every year, and he worked in and around the game at a professional level for a long time. It's one of those ones where I'm not a medical professional, but you can see how that all makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Khalid's basically saying that nothing's changed and it's getting worse. Well, it's not getting worse at the moment anyway, because we had, I believe, 7 operations last year, 4 ACLs or basically hamstrings. So, most of the injuries are impacts or as Dom's saying, that they're recovering from a long-term injury as well. I mean, you can't expect everybody to be like Timber, where Timber had a long time out and literally came back, no problem whatsoever. And towards the back end of the campaign, he kind of had not recurrence, but it was just stress related because he'd been playing through it basically. So yeah, I don't think there's anything in it. I think if we get halfway through the season and we're on half the amount of big injuries that are setting out for a long time, like everybody was worried about Madueke for being out with an ACL, purely because somebody was putting tweet engaging kind of rhetoric out, then yeah, exactly. So we just have to go with it and be thankful now we've got a squad that can actually deal with it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's where we are. And I think, again, it's a bit like you have to sort of see where you are in a few weeks, months' time on where it is. But, I think I couldn't agree more with you. It's absolutely spot on what you've just said.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you mentioned that you did your starting 11 for Port Vale. I haven't done one. And I was on another channel last night, as I said, and one person basically ranged from flipping the whole squad completely, the whole starting 11 completely, and the other one basically wanted to go full team and flip 2 players. So where's your actual squad?
I've just pulled it up because I haven't done the pre-record for this tomorrow yet. But I don't make notes for my videos. I literally put my camera on and press record.
Okay.
But I did write down my 11 here because of the fact it was sort of, I didn't want to sort of pause midway through. So I had Kepa in goal.
Yeah.
I had White at right back if fit.
Yeah.
Because I think Timber getting arrested is vital, because him getting through last season was almost miraculous. It's why no one wanted to see number 5 at right back last year, but I understood why he played there sometimes with the others out. But I did have Marley Salmon coming in, but he is with the youth side tonight, so that doesn't look like that's an option.
Right, okay, yeah.
So then had Mascara and Hincape if he's fit as a middle 2, but I think Gabriel or Saliba will come in there if Hincape's not fit. And then I had MLS at left back. I then had Norgard, Moreno, and Wanyeri as a midfield 3, with Saka starting with Martinelli and Trossard. So I have made, I've made potentially 8 changes, but obviously a lot of those came on as subs at the weekend, so it's not totally unknown.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we should be making 8 changes, to be honest with you. I do think, like you said, Timber getting a rest, I think, is vital.
Yeah.
And if White isn't fit, then I put Mascara there.
Yes, I had Marley Salmon, but I think if White's not fit, you have to go Saliba.
Yeah, Saliba and Mascara. I would put, because Saliba just needs minutes. Because he was kind of a bit off it, and it was kind of a bit of a shame that he put him in the deep end and didn't stick with Mascara, to be honest with you. And I actually like Mascara as well out of the 3, Gabriel, Saliba and Mascara, purely because he seems to advance the ball quicker than most of our centre backs. So they're very solid defensively, but they don't seem to be as progressive as he is. So I just quite I like that idea.
Yeah, I had in my team, I had I was expecting Saliba to start, and I understood why he started, but I had Mosquera starting because I think he's done A, very well, and B, Saliba was coming in cold. But I mean, Saliba did fine, no problems at all on.
Yeah, I think he got sold by Gabriel a little bit, and yeah, it was just that split second decision that he would normally make, and he'd make the right one. I think he probably made the wrong one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think when you look at it with hindsight, you're absolutely right. But I mean, I obviously play at a much lower level, but I've been in that situation where you're like, do I stay? Do I go? I think I'd have probably tracked Haaland because he was the more dangerous one and gone, do you know what? I can't remember the lad's name now. Their midfield, Reinders, go on, have a shot, do it all yourself. But
Yeah,
it is a horrible one in that moment. What do you do? But it was obvious Gabriel wasn't getting back there, But it's a horrid one there where you sort of, do you go, do you stay? But Hincapié, to Khalid's question, he was out of the side with a minor knock at the weekend, so we don't know what the situation is.
Yeah, it was just a training knock, I believe, a warm up thing. But so I don't think he's out. I think he's not like Norgard did his knee, and he was out for 3 weeks.
That was a contact injury as well.
Yeah, so I think he bashed with a defender.
Yeah.
In training, so he just pranged it basically.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Marino when he came in and fumbled with Gabriel and done his shoulder in. So yeah, that's very similar to that, I think.
Yeah, Gabriel's a danger, isn't he? Because he did Moreno last season. He did Gyökeres's head in Spain last week.
Yeah, well, it's a shame he couldn't have done Haaland. You know what I mean? Because what he should have done, in my opinion, is just dragged him down. He should have took the book in, and he should have just dragged him down. It's as simple as that, in my opinion.
Mind you, knowing I lucky to be sent off.
Well, he couldn't have got sent off though, because there was.
I was missing. There.
Yeah, I know, but I'm. It's recorded now. So yeah, before he gets clipped up on that thing that's saying that he complaining about getting sent off and stuff.
Yeah. Hincapié, by the way, it was a minor groin injury, and Arteta's going to assess to see how he is next week. It's a very short-term injury.
That's Hincapié.
Hincapié, yeah.
Okay, so he's not gonna play tomorrow then.
Well, let's see, because we know that Arteta doesn't always tell the truth on injuries.
Well, the thing is, he's still got Lewis Skelly there anyway, hasn't he? And Calafiori that he can put in at.
He could, but I would definitely rest Calafiori for this one. He's played a lot of football. Isak's got his first goal, by the way.
Isak?
Yeah.
Stat padding.
Yeah, he's got his first for Liverpool. Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll do some stat padding there. That's all right.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with a bit of stat padding.
I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying.
I won't lie. I counted my aerial duel wins last night. 2 from 2. Not bad for a 5'1" centre half.
Yeah. So Chelsea were 1-0 down.
They're 2-1 up. Yeah. But yeah, Brighton. A couple of the Brighton goals were crackers, by the way.
Yeah, the second goal was ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But so it's so yeah, they beat Barnsley. Fulham and 0-0 with Cambridge. Fulham, we expect them to win that. Wolves are beating Everton, which is a bit.
They'd swap that for 3 Premier League points, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're getting relegated. They probably haven't rotated the team at all, to be honest.
No, I'm just looking at the lineups here to see what they've done.
So
Everton have heavily changed their side.
Yeah, well, they're not interested in the cup, are they?
And Wolves have gone pretty much full strength. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of anything less, really. I was definitely would have thought that the Wolves wouldn't have changed that much, to be honest.
Yeah, so Seamus Coleman started at left back, to give you an idea on Everton. Everton have gone for it with the subs.
How old is Coleman now? He's got to be up there, and
Seamus Coleman, I believe he was born in 1873, so that makes
yeah, yeah,
35, I reckon.
yeah, yeah. He's got to be somewhere there, isn't he?
I'd have thought
Mad.
so.
Khalid saying he would have started Mascara against City. I completely agree with that.
I
To
would
be
have too,
honest.
yeah.
And our players are dropping like flies. Won't be long till Sparks gets the call up. I mean, if they're calling me up, we are in serious trouble.
Oh,
that is absolutely no doubt. Yeah, we're in serious trouble as that's happening.
well, if you want someone good in the air that's tiny, I am your man. I outjumped someone yesterday, much taller than me again, who'd never played against me. He went, I didn't realise you were going to win that ball. I was like, no one ever expects me to win the ball. As a result, I win so many.
Yeah, just because you're just like, yeah, I'm definitely beating this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Newcastle coming up as well at basically the weekend. Is it a good time to play Newcastle?
Yes, I think it probably is, but I don't think that makes it an easy game. I think they were obviously struggling for goals early on with no Isak, and they hadn't bought their striker, whose name I can't pronounce, but they brought him in now. Yeah, him. But they obviously have him now, which is sort of making them slightly more balanced. But they sort of had that sort of the world is against us mentality at the time, which I think made them quite tricky. And you saw that to most effect, obviously, against Liverpool, who were sort of uh, the sort of team that had made them so cross about everything. But I think they haven't settled quite yet. They are somewhat struggling, but there's no question they're going to be up for the game. They're going to be really, really physical. I wouldn't be shocked to see Arteta go for that same midfield three because of that. I wouldn't, as I say, but I wouldn't be stunned. But I do think it is a good time to play Newcastle. I think there'll be a drop off with Newcastle this year, whenever you play them, to last year. I always thought they were over their skis last year. But we really do need to go there and win. And I think that would make a huge difference to the squad, not just because it gets you to that 13 points we're talking about, but, Arsenal going there and winning, having not won there for a little while, I think would be a real boost for the squad and a real sort of, yes, we can, and a
Yeah,
sort of
I
statement
agree with
win.
that. Yeah, and I agree with this as well. That Khalid's put. I think the draw with City does make it a must win.
Yeah.
But I also think it, like you said, I think it's a confidence booster, and I also think that it doesn't negate the draw, but it kind of does in a way because we don't we of late we've struggled at St James's Park. So if we get the points at St James's Park, and we can do that at Emirates as well later in the year, that does negate the draw, doesn't it? So long as we can obviously beat, cancel out City at Etihad, or at least draw there, maybe even win there.
I mean, I think the title will really come down to how you do against sort of middle of the table pack. To be honest, I just feel that's going to be it this year. But I think this is a must-win game as anything ever is it this year for a few reasons. One, Liverpool have started with 15 points. If they go to 18, I don't think you can be on 11. That's a big gap very early. Long time to close it up again, of course. But I think it is this thing of the players. It gives the players that boost that they know they can go to big, tough grounds and win. They did it at Old Trafford, but everyone says, "Well, Manchester United aren't great," and that is true. But our record at Old Trafford still sucks.
Yeah, but they always get up for the big game. That's
They do, yeah.
whatever it is that they always get up for the big game, and they can be crap against the rest of the league. But Arsenal go there, Liverpool go there. That they always seem to pull something out of the bag. So
Sort of thing Tottenham do as well.
yeah. They're the same. Big game players, but and we've done it before as well. Actually, in fact, where we were just literally turning up for the big games and then
Going back to sleep again.
just come back to sleep. Yeah,
But I think it's that it will be a boost then. But I also think it is that sort of it will. I don't think it will change the narrative, but it stops the narrative getting louder. And I think the players will say they cut it out. etc., etc. But it does impact the fans, and you can see the frustration. I understand the frustration in some ways with the fan base. I do genuinely understand it. I think it's a little bit overdone, but I understand it, and I think it's really important from the fans' point of view that we go there and show the fans that yes, we can, and get that belief back. Because I genuinely believe that for Arsenal to win the league, they not only have to be good, they have to be together, but by them being together, that's fans and the players. That sort of feel good atmosphere from that sort of first title winning run where, it fell apart towards the end in that April. We got battered at City. But, their feel good factor from that season went into the following season. We kind of lost that last season. And I'm not saying one game brings it back, but I think it just gives more belief. And I think getting that feeling back is going to be really, really important because I think the players will really feed off that. And the atmosphere is good, particularly away from home. The Arsenal fans make a lot of noise, but just that energy just will really, really help.
Yeah, I mean, St James's Park is a difficult place to hear fans anyway because they always get away with that ridiculous right. It's like a concrete jungle, and you feel like you're sat over the top of the blooming the warehouses that are just across the way. It's just ridiculous. I mean,
and you're up in the gods as well, so the noise goes out.
Yeah, I don't know how they get away with it. I really don't.
I think they're the only away ground where the away fans are exclusively in the top tier. That and Bramble Lane, but obviously Sheffield United aren't in the top flight.
I think Sunderland do it now.
Do they?
Yeah, but they apparently say it's done on safety grounds, which is really baffling to me because it never feels really safe when you're up there. To be honest, it feels like you're bit in the wilderness in concrete. So yeah, but yeah, I do think St James's Park is a statement, and I also think that if we could win there, I think later in the year when other teams have got to go there and they've picked up some form and they're not necessarily in the middle of the Champions League games and they've got Rissa back. I think Shaw's out as well. Ramsey is Ramsey out as well?
Not sure. I haven't seen their injury list, but
yeah, I think because they signed Ramsey, didn't they? This thing was it this season they signed him?
They did try and they tried him.
I
don't know if it's out or not, but
yeah, I think he's injured as well. But I don't know if it's a big injury. I just know he was out anyway. So it's but yeah, it could be a big statement that. So
particularly as Liverpool have already won there, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a Liverpool fan saying basically that's going to be their toughest game for the whole season. And I'm just like, I don't know how you can be. So you're basically saying you're going to romp the league. Nobody else is going to give you any challenge, and that's your hardest game. I don't really buy into that, to be honest.
I think it'll be one of the hardest games, but I think Newcastle are a decent side, and as you say, it's a difficult place to go. But obviously, it was even more difficult for them given the Isak stuff.
Yeah, I know that, but they also made it so Isak didn't play. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, the point I'm making is that it's not their most difficult, but it will be one of their most difficult. Without I think there's some legitimacy to that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really buy into that exactly, but there we go.
But as I say, I think it's one of the most difficult places for all the sides. So.
Yeah, I think it is. It's just a hard place to go because of the fans and for varying reasons, I guess. But it always seems to be a difficult place to go. But yeah, so Kalita's Cow's got Arteta's number at the moment. I don't think. Do you think that this is right? I mean, the problem I have is that they stifle, but they don't really do much themselves, do they?
No, I mean, I thought we played incredibly poorly there, particularly in the League Cup semi-final last year.
Yeah, I do as well.
I don't think this is a how Arteta thing. I think if you look, Brighton have had various different managers in recent years, and Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta have both struggled against them and both set up their teams in a fairly similar way, because Brighton tactically, the way they're set up doesn't sort of it is the best way in many ways to sort of stop Arsenal, if you were. And I think Newcastle are very similar with an Arsenal perspective. Now you could say that means Howe's got, Arteta's number, but I think it's just that Howe sets up his team against Arsenal, how he sets his team up against most sides, and it's just not ideal for the way Arsenal want to play. What I think Mikel Arteta might need to do is try and find a different way to do that, to beat Howe. And I think he does need to make some tactical adjustments to adjust for that. But I think we're starting to see that. I was talking about it earlier, where we are looking to move that press around and then play the quick ball through, which we weren't doing last year. And I think that might that's what Arteta's going to hope will make a difference. But I think that's where he will have to sacrifice that three-man physical midfield for that little bit of creativity in there, at the weekend, to do that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Obviously, that is obviously what his ultimate goal is. So yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do. But invariably, what he seems to have done is made us play slower. To be honest, but you know,
I think we're still slow at time because we'd want to be quicker, but I do think we look quicker than we did last season. I mean, last season was horrifically slow. But the stats actually bear it out that we are playing quicker and more long balls than we did last year. With the exception of Leeds, ironically, where we won quite comfortably.
yeah, I mean, it was yeah. Leeds was a weird one because normally they come to attack you and they didn't really do anything, did they? It was kind of they didn't defend and they didn't attack. It was kind of a bit of a nothing game, really.
It was an odd one, wasn't it?
It was very odd because you couldn't even pinpoint where the goals were created from, if you get what I mean, because it was like, well, they were just static, really, and just seemed to be going around in circles and not really creating anything.
They just didn't know what to. They didn't really know what to do, and I think once Arsenal upped the tempo in that game, they really did sort of go to town. Equally, I thought Leeds looked really tired in the second half, and I think it's partly because Arsenal just kept the ball so much in the first half, but they sort of ground them down, made them tired, and then went for it late, which I think we will see a lot of this year. It's not necessarily what I'd want to see all the time. I'd almost rather we tried to do it the other way around and go hard at teams early and try and get 2 or 3 early and then relax. But we seem to be doing it the other way around. But
yeah, it seems to be that obviously he's trying to take the legs off players and then put the attack on and go at a weakened defensive line, I guess, on the basis that they're not going to be able to change the whole defense.
Yeah.
So
like Bilbao.
Yeah, but I mean, Bilbao was a strange one as well because they kind of pressed for most of the game, and all right, they were fatigued, and was the timing of the substitutions, was that quite a little bit lucky maybe, and the instantaneous goal from Martinelli.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, but what I meant was that's what he was looking to do, and it worked in that game. Is what it is. I think what I mean by that is how he was looking to win some of these games. I think is doing that, but in some ways, I'd rather he sort of went the other way around.
Yeah.
I think what he's trying to do is save our legs as well, conscious of what happened last year.
Yeah, I agree.
By doing that and making sure we're not knackered by running 90 minutes absolutely flat out. But actually, I think if you look at the year before, quite often we scored goals early, won the game early, and then made our changes to get players the rest the other way around. And maybe that will change as we play the lesser sides. That actually you can sort of, do that, and maybe against a bigger, better size, he thinks you've got to ground and pound and then go for it. I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that either Ezra's not ready for that position, or I don't know, or he doesn't trust him in that position to do what Ødegaard does, or something. I don't know exactly, but
yeah, I wonder again if it's your position where he is just thinking, I just want that defensive solidity because they are a good side, the opposition, or whether it is that trusting. And you could see in some ways it was, that lack of trust about Ezra's defensive work could sort of be seen. There was that sort of chance where Ezra actually did get back in the end and cleared it. I think it hit Gabriel and nearly went in after a Rara save. But he wasn't lazy, but he just got caught out defensively in a way that Odegaard wouldn't have been. And it's partly because Odegaard knows how to play that position under Arteta, and Ezra doesn't necessarily know how to at the moment. But I wonder whether we will see the likes of Wanyeri and Ezra sort of come in a little bit more, if Odegaard's out for a little bit longer against those lesser sides. I don't know. I would like to think the answer is yes, but we'll see.
Do you think that the big games or the bigger games have just come too early for him to trust Ezra in that kind of role?
I think so. I think the Odegaard injury is the one in particular that has impacted our game plan against Liverpool and Manchester City in particular. And look, you have to prepare for these games when you haven't got players. And I think Kai is really important as well. I think Kai
Yeah.
Havertz would have played Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City. I really do. And we were talking about that earlier. But and obviously you have to adjust and what have you. But I think had they not been injured, you might have seen a different thing. Or, as to your question, if we had played them in 5-6 weeks' time and they had no Odegaard, I wonder if he'd have picked a different side. I don't know. We'll never know, and he's not going to tell us. And I can understand why. You don't want to cause upset with your players, but I think my gut feeling is they've not come out too early in the season in terms of. I think it's not a bad time to play them, but it's come too early because you have one of those two missing, and I think that would have made a big difference. But that is what it is. You can't plan for that.
Yeah, I don't think you can plan for it, no. But I do kind of get the impression that you have to work into that ethic, if you like, and he just doesn't want to springboard somebody into there without kind of any experience of doing it.
I think that's absolutely right. I think, he doesn't want to sort of put those players in that position, but he also doesn't want to risk the team by them being put into that position where they're not quite ready for it either. And in some ways, I think that's totally understandable, which is why I think another reason why you see that sort of midfield that we sort of saw, because Moreno knows how to do the role. I think
Yeah, I also think.
I get it why.
Yeah, I also think that obviously that with having other players out injured, that he doesn't want to over change and over rotate the actual starting 11, so that he hasn't got so many people trying to gel in games. I
think
think
so.
that's having some kind of impact on it as well. So
Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on.
yeah, so Saka coming back, I think, might be very good timing. Obviously, he's a very good player, and he's still a level above, or several levels above Madueke, in my opinion. Purely on end product alone, I think that creative wise, I think they're very similar, but I think the end product and what they actually offer on the final moment, I think Saka's leagues above him, to be honest.
Look, I think that's spot on. I don't think that's a slot on Madueke either. I think
No,
that's
it's not. It's not
a
meant that way at
testament.
all.
No, exactly. I just wanted to sort of clarify that point. I think that is a credit to Saka. Saka is one of the best 2 or 3 right wingers in the world. I think Madueke has started his Arsenal career very well. People are saying he hasn't got the goals or assists, but I also think on another day has 2 or 3, because he's created some very good opportunities that haven't been put away. I'm thinking about that one where Gyökeres hit the post. I think Gyökeres
We nearly broke the post.
Well, yeah. I mean, I actually think Gyökeres should have pulled the ball back into the middle, which would have also taken an assist away from Madueke there. But he has played some lovely balls. He's got into some good positions. He's caused fullbacks a load of issues, and I do genuinely think he would have had some goals and assists, had things gone slightly differently for him. But, I think Madueke has done very well and has proved a lot of people wrong. and I'm pleased for that for him. But Saka, if Saka's fit, you start Saka over Madueke,
Yeah.
every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Do you think? Do you think if Havertz is in the midfield, like Khalid's saying here, do you think Havertz puts a couple of chances away that Madueke is actually provided?
I think Gyökeres is a better finisher. To
Yeah,
me,
but I'm thinking of mobility at this moment in time rather than anything else.
but
That because Havertz he's just everywhere, isn't he? And he would actually go to pick the ball up and then play Madueke in and then move himself
I'm
into the
with you.
position
Yeah,
rather than
so
anything else.
I think that's possibly true, because Havertz, as you say, will come short, and that really gets the forwards running beyond them, which is where Madueke would really shine. I don't necessarily think from midfield we might have seen it, but certainly if he'd been sort of in that forward role, we might have seen it there. But I think you were talking earlier about Walter gone 2 up. You were talking earlier about seeing Gyökeres and Havertz together, and I actually wonder whether against Manchester City in particular, or Liverpool with Odegaard out, he didn't want to throw Ranieri in there. And I can understand that, particularly at Liverpool, less so against
Yeah,
City. I wonder, had Havertz been fit, whether we might have, to your point, seen both of them there
yeah.
with Havertz really as a sort of second striker, because he's got the legs to do the defensive work. I don't think we'd see him as a midfielder, but and I
No,
think
but we saw that very similarly with Havertz and Jesus, didn't we? So is it
yeah,
that kind of thing
yeah,
where they're kind of flip flopped and they probably wouldn't interchange like Jesus and
no,
Havertz did, but yeah, I can certainly see that he would do the creative work a little bit more, and then he's supplying the ball through rather than you know necessarily trying to score himself, but trying to either make Madueke a bit more influential, and the same with Gyökeres as well. So it's a bit more of
yeah.
a link up role.
Yeah, and I think I could see that. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it too much, which is why I was surprised earlier. But I think that could well be a sort of shout there as to how that might have gone. Had he
Mm.
been available. Obviously, he wasn't, and you have to go
Yeah,
with different solutions. And that's part of being a football manager. It's not he just has to deal with that.
yeah. I do think we missed White in that game as well against City, to be honest, because obviously with Saka coming back. I mean, I don't know how you thought he performed, but I thought it looked a little bit off it, and obviously that's going to be the case. He's going to be rusty or whatever. But even from a point where he's trying to penetrate the line, it just looked to me like he was missing White, like it was the Timber thing wasn't quite clicking. I
Uh,
don't know
I,
if that was
I
right
think
to you.
particularly with the vulnerability City have at fullback, that I think White was a miss from that point of view, and I think obviously Saka is more comfortable with White there than he is Timber. But I thought that. I thought Saka was fine. Like I said to you earlier when you asked, it was rustiness on his part rather than anything
Yeah,
else. I don't think it was anything more than that. He had some good moments. He had some moments where I think had that been his third or fourth game of the season, we'd have seen a slightly different sort of performance.
yeah, I agree with that. Have you seen the Liverpool Southampton score?
No, I haven't. I know Brighton have scored 6.
Yeah, it's 6-0 now. Yes.
1-1. Oh, get in.
So that could go to penalties. That one.
That would be a result, wouldn't it? Who Liverpool got at the weekend? I can't remember.
It's probably somebody easy, right?
I'll have a look.
Um,
I'll have a look very slowly.
no, I'm doing it as well, very slowly. Palace away.
Oh, I mean, it's one of those ones you'd expect to win, but you never know.
Palace used to be their bogey team, didn't they? But not so much anymore. But they used to be their bogey team. and then they've got Chelsea away. So, but I don't. I think that'd be quite easy for them. And
What
then they've got
Chelsea
United.
title favourites? Chelsea, you mean? The ones that are going to push for the title all the way? Them?
I mean, are we really believing that? Are we,
No, I was being very, 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 very
very
sarcastic.
facetious. I mean, I don't get their game plan.
They have one.
Well, they do have one, right?
Yeah, I
Do you
know.
have an Argos catalogue? Yeah, they are the Argos catalogue of the football world.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's priceless.
Yeah. Scroll. Nope.
Nope.
That one.
I'll have that today.
So yeah, they just don't seem to improve, and I think the Xavi Simons move to Tottenham kind of proves that.
Yeah. I
Because
think that's a good move for him, by the way.
it's a great move for him, and it's a great move for Tottenham.
Yeah.
I really do think that, because he'll get game time and everything like that, and he's not part of the lottery.
Yeah. And
Whereas they have a tombola every week.
yeah,
just to just to who's going to play.
Chelsea are the ultimate side of, oh, that didn't quite work this week. Let's change it completely. Well, sometimes in football things don't quite well, and in life things don't quite work. It doesn't mean it's not the right
Yeah.
thing to try and do. I mean, I do think they're probably, will sneak into that fourth spot, but I think that sort of says more about others than it does about them.
Yeah, I think again that's the drop off of United. I don't think United will be up there. I think they'll be somewhere close. I think they'll be closer than people think.
I
But
do too.
but I think that's more down to the quality of teams around them. Like I say, I mean Tottenham might be pushing for that, to be honest.
Yeah, they might do. I wonder whether the Champions League might just do them, but
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, I expect Newcastle to drop off with Champions League football,
yes, I
and
do
obviously
too.
losing Isaac. Aston Villa are doing a massive drop off job anyway.
Yeah, which I had them finishing 9th this season, Villa.
Villa, yeah, I mean,
And they might not even make that.
it might not make that. And they blame PSR and all this, and it's just like, well, just because you didn't manage it properly, it's not PSR's fault; it's your fault.
Well, I mean, I also think it shows how hard it is when you're out of European football for as long as you are to try and do it, actually. And
Well, that's the same with Newcastle.
Credit to Edu, because he did manage to do it. People won't like that, but Newcastle struggling with it, Villa struggling with it.
But he only managed to do it because of the checkbook, because he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, and it was pretty much the same principle as when he was at Arsenal. He was like, "Yeah, I will get you European football."
No, I meant when he was at Arsenal.
Yeah,
because he still had to do it. Yes, Arsenal are lucky because they've got a big stadium there in London. That does help.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making here is it is not easy when in that 3-year period you haven't got the Champions League football for all 3 years to keep doing it.
Cartel.
But this is part of the problem, though.
Yeah, and I get that you're under restrictions because of the rules and stuff, but unfortunately, you don't make as much money as the top 6 clubs.
Yeah,
it's just a simple fact.
Yeah, and that does help Arsenal to the point, but it also, like I say, it does show how hard it can be to do it within those rules.
Yeah, but I mean, we were under Gazidis, and Gazidis with the commercial deals that we had, you might as well bloody taken a match to the contracts because they were just pointless.
Oh god, they were awful.
Didn't do anything commercially, and that's one thing you got to give Vinay a bit of credit for.
Yeah.
As much as we weren't bothered when he went, he did a lot on the commercial side of things.
I think from a commercial point of view, Vinay will do a really good job at Tottenham.
I do as well.
think Thomas Frank is a great appointment for him. I hate to say it, but
yeah. I mean, I like Thomas Frank, and I'm not sure I'd want him as Arsenal manager, but if he was, obviously before he went to Tottenham, if he came in, I don't think I'd be disappointed, really.
No, I wonder if he's one of those managers that you sort of appoint when you're sort of sixth, looking to get top four and getting towards a title challenge, and then maybe he gets you there. Sort of similar to what Arteta has been. The
It's
question
been
remains, can he
accused
get
of,
there?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and until you do it, no one's going to know.
No, exactly. But yeah, it's tough on Villa, but I think they've kind of made their own mistakes, if you like, and well, they've got a goal now, so they should be all right.
Yeah, and Fulham have just won.
Has that finish?
It's
Has
gone
it?
full time. Yeah.
83
Liverpool,
minutes on the Liverpool game.
and they've got an injury.
Well,
Giovanni Leone is down. He's off injured, so Kirkers is on. I don't think
hasn't
that's.
he just come back from injury, Leone?
Yeah, yeah.
Literally just came back from injury. So it's not just us, Khalid. It's everyone.
No, but that's bad luck, not.
Yeah. There's definitely not training regimes, that one. They want PSR to be based on debt, not income. Well, the funny thing is, they were supposed to be changing the rules on PSR to make it so that it was based on the lowest threshold of earnings of the league, and I think there's Man United that vetoed it.
I don't necessarily like that element totally, because I think that gives some unpredictability in it. I think something more similar to the sort of Spanish model might be more, but then
But the
they've
problem
only
with the
benefited
Spanish model is it's
exactly.
tiered.
Exactly what I was just going to say. But
Yeah,
but something similar to that, but actually sort of narrows that gap, that almost says, the percentage kind of
yeah. I
cut.
think the German model's
German model, yes,
very
that one.
similar to that, and it is kind of it is tiered, but it's very minutely. So
Yeah,
it's almost
exactly.
like because they're subsidised anyway, the clubs really.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So I think the percentage difference, where in Spain it's like 20, 30, 40%. When you actually go into Liverpool 2-1.
Okay, TK.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, not necessarily that thing, because it's why Real Madrid and Barcelona run away with the league. Credit to Simeone
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Atletico
Yeah.
to stay with them. But what I mean by that, by sort of something more similar to that, is where there is some strict sort of criteria to make sure clubs don't go bankrupt or shouldn't go bankrupt is important. But you need to then adjust it to make sure that Burnley, and I'm picking on Burnley, don't have a £10 million budget, whereas Arsenal have a £200 million budget, and in some ways, there's always going to be a gap.
But
But you want to try and minimise that gap. But
the problem
I
is,
don't-
though, that PSR really doesn't do anything because, if you look at the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, you look at where Blackpool have gone, is it Reading that basically gone the same way? The owners can still do what the hell they want
yeah,
and bankrupt the club.
yeah. I mean, and that's PSR was brought in to try and prevent that, but obviously it hasn't, and it does
Yeah.
need some adjusting. And I don't know what the answer is, but there has been a red card at Anfield. Hugo Ekitike has been sent off for celebrating by taking his shirt off, tucking yellow, and off he goes.
I mean, you can banter that as much as you want, right? But nobody should be sent off for celebrating.
I mean, I agree. I think it's a daft rule. However, as a player, it's blinking stupid because you know what's going to happen.
Oh, you know the rule. You know the rule. Yeah,
It's in the moment, right?
but I don't think the rule should exist. I don't
No,
think.
I agree. I agree.
I think you're taking any kind of entertainment value out of out of sport. I don't like that. One little bit. I don't care if it's a Liverpool player. I don't care
Yeah.
if it's a Tottenham player. No player should be getting sent off. I mean, I don't. I get, like you say, I don't know why they're doing it, given that they know the rules. But
Yes. I agree entirely.
it shouldn't be an automatic yellow card. It's just absolute nonsense.
Yeah, I agree entirely. For me, it shouldn't be a yellow card. It shouldn't be a rule. But as a player, you also know it is a rule. I got booked the other, a few months ago for chuntering from a sedentary position towards a match official. I know
Yeah,
I shouldn't do it. That should be
yeah.
a yellow card, by the way. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
100 should be. But I also know I shouldn't have done it, and therefore I can have no complaints about the yellow card I received. You know, and it's one of those ones where you know you shouldn't do it, but equally you're in that moment. And mine was sheer frustration. This will be sheer joy, and sometimes you forget the rules in that moment.
Yeah,
And
new
that's
to the
why, as you
league as
say, you
well,
shouldn't
but
have it.
yeah, but I just don't think it should be a rule.
No, I don't.
It's absolute nonsense. But that
Football's a game of
carries
passions and
over to the
emotions.
league now.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, you know,
Because they were isolated just to that competition, weren't they? But I don't think that's.
I don't think they are now. I think this one is domestic across. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he might be suspended for the weekend.
Yeah,
Um,
so that means Isaac has got to play then.
yeah, I mean, you know, not a bad
Yeah.
replacement.
No, I know, but if you're looking at a fitness point of view and he's not necessarily fit,
Yeah, yeah,
and you've done this game to gain fitness, then it might raise a concern. I don't know how far off fitness he was. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, yeah,
it's like Saka probably had to play too many minutes to get his minutes for match fitness, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it might be a similar kind of thing.
yeah,
It's
exactly. And it's what we were talking about earlier, isn't it? That you want him to play a bit against Port Vale for
yeah,
those match fitness. This is why Isak starts tonight. But
yeah,
is his body ready for two lots of 90 minutes? Because that's what he might be facing. You know, I don't know
yeah,
if he's been substituted in this game, Isak, but you know, even so,
yeah.
I'm just having a look now to see if he's off.
Who else they're putting on? I mean, you've
Isak
got
only played 45 minutes, which suggests he's probably not anywhere near 90.
yeah,
Hugo
exactly.
Ehizige ironically came on for Isak.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not great, is it? But
Well, not for them.
he only misses one game anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just checking to see if it do League Cup games red cards carry over. I'll let you know.
I thought that they changed it so that they weren't exclusive to the one competition.
I think they have. I'm just double checking it. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, I'm
FA
not
Cup
entirely sure.
FA Cup definitely do, but it's not coming up for the League Cup. It can't quite work out that the League Cup is different to the FA Cup. Yeah, Reds will count. Yeah, Reds will it will count. It will count across all domestic competitions.
Right, so he
Assuming Google
he's
is
out
right. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, yeah. The powers of Google aren't always correct.
Normally I would double check the sources, but as I'm live, I can't necessarily do those things
Yeah,
to
exactly,
the same
exactly.
extent.
So yeah, that's what we think will happen. We might be wrong.
Yes.
We can perfectly accept if we're wrong as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. But there we go. Score prediction for Port Vale.
2-0. How about you?
That sounds very conservative to me. I don't know why. I was on on the show I was on last night. I predicted 4-0, so I'm going to stick with that.
If Arsenal score early, I can see it being that. If they score in the first 20, 25 minutes, I think you could be on. I just have a feeling that Port Vale are going to be absolutely up for it. You know, they're on terrible
Yeah,
form.
but they're always up for it, aren't they? But you know, the golfing quality should be.
Yes, it should be. But you never know in these games. I just have a feeling that
Yeah,
Arsenal are going to dominate, control the game totally. Port Vale are going to, you know, restrict those early goals, but Arsenal are always going to look like they're going to win the game and will win the game. That's why I've gone 2-0. I think it'll be a very, very, very comfortable 2-0. But if they do get that early goal while Port Vale's tails up, then I think it's going to be a romp, like you say, because Port Vale have lost 4 out of their 5 league games so far this season.
yeah. Well, wish me luck. 'Cause I'm driving up there tomorrow.
Oh yeah, all the way.
Yeah.
How far is it to Stoke?
Well, I think it's about 3 hours. It's from Brighton.
Oh, you're just down the road down the road from me.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm
Yeah.
15 miles north of you.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, fair enough. To meet up for a drink then.
yeah. We're really not far from each other.
Yeah, fair. We can
I've
do
got a
that.
direct bus route to Brighton.
Have you? Fair enough. Yeah, we can definitely meet for a beer then.
We're number 28.
But yes. Okay, cool. Well, I think we covered everything.
Including the fact it's a number 28 bus from where I live to where you live.
I don't use buses, mate. I have no idea. Yeah, I'm quite happy to get on a train though. But there we go. But yeah, we can work that out at some point.
Sounds
But
good.
yeah, I think we're there. Are you on Thursday?
I'm not on
You're not
Thursday.
available
I'm on
Thursday.
secondary school visits for my son because he goes to secondary school next year
Ah,
because I'm getting old.
fair enough. Well, we try to come up with a program that kind of works for everybody. So yeah, so we will work on that in the background. Guys, please make sure you're liking, subscribing, dropping comments in the thing, and make sure you're subscribing to Arsenal Domination as well. Cheers for coming on again, Dom.
It's really good fun. I really enjoy it.
Nice one. Oh, my screen's a bit scrambled. That's good. Need that in my life. I can't find my logos at the best of times. Yeah. Guys, thank you very much for joining. Everybody that's been in the chat, please make sure you're subscribing to the channel, hitting the alert bell, and then you get notifications when we do go live. Join the X community on the socials as well, and you'll see when we're going live again. Until next time, which will be Thursday at this point, we shall see you then. Good night, everyone.